I I even took a bit of a risk in rolling out our NFTs on a day before an eclipse. So let's see how that goes. It's a strategic kind of thing to see how things go. But anyhow, if you guys don't know, let me kind of introduce you to what the NFTs are while everyone's rolling in here. I hope you were able to get my message last night. Let's see. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's see, still people rolling in. Yeah, so Nadia is oh yeah, eclipse is kicking your butt. Absolutely. It's been kicking. See, when the eclipse happens on a sensitive point in your horoscope, let's say it's on your sun or on your moon, on your ascendant, or the ruler of your dasha period, the planetary period you're running, whatever the case, it will affect you more because eclipses happen, regularly, a few times a year. A solar and lunar eclipse about twice a year, and most of them kind of go off. You don't notice much, but when they happen on sensitive points in your chart, that's when they really can turn your life around. So I feel you guys. I definitely feel you because I'm feeling them as well. And it's happening on natal sun, running sun Mahadasha. Woo! There you go. All right, Gary. Galaxy. Yeah. There you go. So I think a lot of us are feeling it. Yeah. And yes, it can absolutely be turn your life around in a good way. You have to see, the eclipse is a time when your intentions actually have tremendous power. A lot of the Vedic prayers, like the Ganapati Atharva Shirsham, which we do sometimes, explicitly say at the end of that prayer, it says, hey, if you do this during an eclipse and you set your intention, the effect will be mucho amplified, right? So an eclipse is a great time to go inwards and set your intention. So if you want prosperity, if you want to align yourself with prosperity, you set your intention for that. You create it. If you want health, if you want love, if you want enlightenment, all those things can happen by aligning yourself during the eclipse, because it's like a portal. It's like a portal where your wishes get, sent out. So there you go. All right, let's see, a few more people rolling in here. Give me 1 second to add everybody. So yes, I hope you guys are able to see the chart. So Barbara, this is Nadia's artwork. I don't know if you can see the screen
Oh
here.
my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, so these are Vedic astrology themed tarot, basically tarot cards. And they're virtual for the moment until she finishes the deck. And so they have all of the symbolism. For example, this part of the sky is called Ashwini. So it's a Vedic asterism. So, we have the 12 signs of the zodiac. There are 27 asterisms in the Vedic tradition, and each one has a very specific meaning. These are the celestial physicians. This is the sun god chasing his wife in the form of a horse. And the celestial physicians were renowned for being able to create miraculous things, like replacing a human head with that of a horse, and so forth. So and of course, if a person is born under this asterism, they themselves will carry some of that magic. Either they become physicians or they become, able to do kind of miraculous work, whatever they do. So, and to top it all off, we donate 50% of the $300, so $150 goes straight to a charitable organization. So those are out. The first 3 are out. She's working on the next one as we speak. All right. All right, so I think it's 11:07 my time. I think we can get started here. So today's class is going to be no Jyotish. It's going to be Barbara Roberts, whom I introduced in the video that I sent out yesterday. Barbara is a master face reader. She's been on Tyra Banks and a whole bunch of other nationwide shows. And most importantly, she is very good and accurate at what she does. So if you haven't had a reading from her, and I shared this with you guys yesterday, but I'll just share it again. She's giving a special discount to our group. It's $150 for a full, is it an hour, Barbara, that they get with you?
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah, her book is the bomb. I'm reading the chat here. Absolutely. Her book basically lays out all the secrets, right? But her book is just the beginning. What I found, I've had a few readings with Barbara, is that you get a lot more when you have the person there, in that she's also very intuitive. So she goes way beyond the book in the reading. So if, and Barbara, where can they go to book a reading?
Hold on. People need to send me an email, facereading1@aol.com. On my website, the sessions are more expensive. So I'm giving my I Love Simon discount. So if you write me, I'll send you all the links so that you can book it at a discount.
Okay, facereading1@aol.com.
AOL.com.
And what is your website, just for reference?
Yeah, facereading1.com is my website. And on my website, you can see I've been on about 75 national and local news shows, Tyra, NBC. Oh, there it is. And when you click on it, the video at the top actually does come up, the one that looks like it's unavailable. That's the Hallmark Channel.
Okay.
So, and on YouTube, I also have 1.5 million people watching all the videos. So I have a whole bunch of videos on YouTube. And that describes what I'll be doing in the face reading session. So it's facereading1.com. And my book right now is on eBay, a special on eBay.
Okay, awesome. That's a must-have book, in my opinion, for anybody into astrology, palmistry, numerology. It's not to be missed. Okay, Barbara, I'm going to turn it over to you. And do you need to share your screen?
I think I'm good. What I'd like to do today is, usually we do kind of an interactual class. Today, it's mainly going to be just me telling you everything I've learned in 10,000 people in terms of wealth, increasing your destiny in a positive way, and increasing your luck, because this is the cryptocurrency group, is it not?
Yes, yes, love it, love it.
So I'm focused. I spent hours going through. I've been meditating. I'm going to show you my teacher, who Simon knows is Yogananda. So I've been meditating for 50 years every day and focusing on understanding the inner secrets and the inner laws of everything. So my gift, face reading, because I was trained in clinical medicine at UCSD. I was co-winner of the Huey Malek Award for research. And so my training, pardon? Oh, I was listening to Simon. Anyway, so my training is very analytic, and I use I call it my picky research background, to look at face reading, which is a 2,000-year-old science. And I'm one of the first authors. I've been doing this 35 years, looked at about 10,000 people. So I'm one of the first authors to honor people of all different ethnic backgrounds and ages, everything. So that's my gift. I do this internationally all day. So having said that, so we're going to look at, today we're going to focus on your ability to draw luck and where that shows in your face. I have a whole bunch of facial features that show luck and destiny, how to work with that, and then also things to avoid. Let's say you're like, well, I'm not sure about cryptocurrency or how this works, so I want to get someone to invest with, or someone who's an expert. So I'm going to show you many of the facial features that are, don't choose this person. Because I teach criminology on a college level. After September 11th, the FBI and the CIA, I sent them the, it's called prototypes, the facial features that show criminal intention. And so that's one of my expertise. So I'm going to show you some of those features so you avoid someone who might be not ethical. And one man called me, I have a whole bunch of stories to tell you. One man called me 4 months ago from Germany, and he said to me, I'm an expert in cryptocurrency. And I went, oh, fascinating. I have some friends who also are studying this, of course. I don't know as much as you do, but so I said to him, this is really fascinating. And he said, so I'm looking to have people come with me and invest $100,000 a shot, doing crypto, and I'll take it and do housing and blah, 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 blah. And so I looked at him and immediately I knew he was lying. And I knew that he wasn't doing what he said he was doing. So I'm going to take a little aside here and tell you a story about Abraham Lincoln, who is an expert at face reading. And Abraham Lincoln had the White House. He had his cabinet assembled in the White House. The men were all there. It was a late summer afternoon. Everyone was tired. They wanted to go home to their dinners. And so Lincoln was still looking at the cabinet. And there was one other man he wanted to bring forward who would be Secretary of the Treasury. So keep in mind, this is a little bit fictional, so sort of true fictional. Anyway, so Lincoln said to the man, well, give me your dossiers and, have a seat. So the man came in, presented all his paperwork to Lincoln. So Lincoln's looking at his face very thoroughly because Lincoln would choose his people in court. Because he was a lawyer, he would choose the people based on their faces. So he took one look at this man, was reading all the papers, and he turned to him and said, will you excuse us and go into the other room? Lincoln turned to his cabinet and said, I don't want this man anywhere close to me. And Lincoln said, he's lying. And Lincoln knew immediately the man had forged all his documents, which he had. The man had just come out of prison and he had stolen his brother's papers, which were an exemplary soldier. So Lincoln said, show me a man who's 40 who is not responsible for his face. So I'm going to teach you all the shortcuts. And so I've been focused on this for hours. I'm so excited to do this for Simon. So
we're all excited too, Barbara. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. So we're going to look at hidden spiritual laws. And like I said, my fun and interest is patterns. So I've talked to 10,000 people about their lives, their finances, their marriages, you name it. And so I look for patterns, and I'm going to teach you the patterns for success today. And many of these are based on ancient yoga. And I do a little different system than Simon. As I said, I'm a disciple of Yogananda. So I've spent 50 years meditating, doing my own inner work, and looking at these laws, what makes people successful. So the starting point, though, is I grew up literally on the New York Stock Exchange. And I mean, literally, I grew up. My dad was a investor. And every morning he would go to the stock exchange. And so we would go with him as kids. We would sort of play on the stock exchange while he was watching. Keep in mind, this was forever ago. He was watching the people chalk in all the stocks as they came across the exchange, and we would be playing. And so my dad retired at age 45, made all his money in the stock market. And every day he would read Barron's and Wall Street Journal. And he was an expert at money and finance. And he then paid for 6 college educations. So he did quite well. And so I'm going to teach you what he was like and some other people I know who have done cryptocurrency. But anyway, or who've done investing. Anyway, back to this man who said to me, well, I want to have 100,000 people invest, these huge investments that I'll take, and I'll do crypto and I'll make more money. And so I looked at him because I knew he was lying right away. And so I started asking him some questions. And so within about 10 seconds, he admitted he knew nothing. He had studied it for a month and he thought he was an expert. And, this is me who has 35 years in clinical medicine and medical research. I'm like, oh my gosh. So there are people who don't know what they're doing, and we don't want you getting hurt by investing with someone like that. So what I did, I looked at his face and he had all the signs of someone who was deceitful and lying. But then I also pulled up this is the Western chart, his Western chart. And immediately I went to the second house. This is Western, not Jyotish, not Vedic. But I went to the second house and I saw Pluto, which was not well aspected. And I said to him, oh, I understand now. You're a professional gambler. And he went, yes, I'm a professional gambler. And he said, and so what we do is when we're gambling, we invest 100,000 at a table. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So he was coming from that kind of gambler mentality. And so my goal when I do face reading and look at people is to protect you. If kind of like I call it like an eagle, I kind of watch over you if you have vulnerabilities. Okay, don't go that way, go this way. And so that's what I like to do with people. So anyway, the other part, I'm going to teach you some of the things I've learned in doing intuitive work that might be helpful for you, whether it's in love, wealth, crypto, whatever it is. What I learned, these are the deeper understandings of things. So one of the things I learned doing astrology, and I do the spiritual astrology, which I interconnect to the face reading. I usually tell people face reading is my first language, spiritual astrology is my second, and they go hand in hand. So one example, 6 months before this happened, I have no idea why I was reading my chart. No clue, but I have a twin brother who's a famous doctor. Well, my brother works about 10-hour days minimum, 6 days a week. And compared to that, I'm practically a fluff bunny. I don't work 10 hours a day. So anyway, in our chart, exactly at a certain month, there was no other interpretation but that we were going to have a heart attack. I mean, there was, and I don't do medical astrology, even though I'm in medicine or was in clinical medicine. So there was just no other interpretation. So when that aspect came around, my twin brother had 2 heart attacks and 2 stents put in and almost died. And when that came around, because I have the same chart, 5 minutes off, I was taking care of cardiac patients. So what I learned from that in all this intuitive work is it depends how you live your life as to how things are going to manifest. And I'm speaking only of my experience in astrology, not, of course, I honor Simon's and Nadia's experience. But what I've seen is that if you live your life connected to integrity, nobility, and selfless service, then when blessings come through your chart or through your life, you're able to, you have a floor, I call it of goodness, to sustain those changes. And then when the same changes come through and you've lived kind of a chaotic life or self-absorbed life, then they touch you, but you can't reach them. In other words, you can't sustain them. So these are the kinds of things I've learned doing these intuitive areas, and I'm going to teach you some of those today. At the end, I'm going to talk about some advanced yoga techniques for developing intuition, which is really what you want with cryptocurrency or any kind of investment. You want to be very intuitive. Now, usually what I do in my sessions, I work with CEOs a lot. And so in the topic of investments, and I'm assuming crypto, so if I make mistakes, please forgive me because I'm not an expert in your area. But there's a difference between impulsiveness in the body. Keep in mind, I'm from medicine, in the body, the nervous system, the spirit. Impulsiveness, which leads to maybe investing too soon or pulling out investments or, being a little chaotic. So there's impulsiveness. And then over here, is calm intuition, which is what my dad had. And this is like nerves of steel. So the market goes like this. But you're looking at the long term. You have this non-responsive ability when it comes with finance, and an ability to go directly to spirit to ask, what should I do? What should I do about this with any topic? And so I'm going to teach you a technique for that at the end. The more calm intuition you have, the more success you will have, period. Doesn't even matter what the topic is. So I'm going to go into face reading first. And I pulled up a whole bunch of examples of people who have great faces of destiny, and you'll recognize them. And I'm going to talk about several of the facial features. Now, keep in mind, we're always looking at you and bringing out your best, because we don't all have the face of Steve Jobs. Okay, let me turn it. Okay, so one thing he has, so there are a few lines that he has that make him exceptional. And the first one is there's a horizontal line going straight across that he has, and you can see it, it's number 2. It's called the emperor line. And when someone has that line, I'm trying to get it so you can see it the best, it means that you're universally successful, period. That's it. And in China, in ancient China, they used to choose emperors. When they would see this line, they'd go, you. Okay, now the second part he has that I don't have, and I do intuitive work, but I call it the Klingon feature, which is this part of the forehead comes forward, and this is called the intuitive area. So what this means is your intuition is quite good. And so the last part he has that is very wonderful for investments and for understanding things is the tall, wide forehead. This is the one Colin Powell has, the Dalai Lama. Many great souls have had very tall and wide. And this is thinker, planner, strategist. Okay, the next facial feature that is like always a winner for money is a large nose. Now, I had the honor of being with Mother Teresa of Calcutta in India. I went to see her when I worked in medicine for inspiration, of course. And the larger the nose, especially at the base, the more wealth. So in her case, it's spiritual wealth. In other people, it can be major financial wealth. So the nose really shows what your money potential are. Now, a few things I haven't, I'll just demonstrate, but I haven't shown. The nose that I have, for example, goes this way. If I'm at a profile, it goes like that. This is the nose for saving. So I am like a saver, and so I've done quite well financially because I save. The other, keep in mind, there are thousands of facial features. In my book, I probably outlined 400 or so, what they mean psychologically. But the ones for money are really key. Now, in my book, I also cover what about ethnic features. For example, in some ethnic groups, the nose is larger. So what we do is, let's say someone is Hispanic or African American or Icelandic. And so we're probably going to assume they have black hair and brown eyes from India. They probably have black hair and brown eyes. So any facial feature that we think might be related to an ethnic background, we put it aside. And then I look at the parts of their face that make them special. And so when we looked at crypto, we're looking at money, we're looking at your face completely and where to pull the strongest positive features. For example, when I've done 500 classes, and I was asked to do the sales conference for Jenny Craig years ago. So in the conference, what I did is I read the faces of the 26 managers internationally. So I sat down with each of them, and the goal to be very successful in life is to have your life balanced. Let me try to get that so it's looking mental, spiritual, physical. So everything moves in the same direction. If one of the areas is weaker, then it means that you're pulled back. For example, I know very famous doctors who haven't taken care of their body. And so now maybe they have high blood pressure or they have things that are holding them back from really reaching their potential. So we want you to be balanced. And then the focal beyond that, I always use the example of Gandhi. And Gandhi, as you know, from politics in India, very famous. And what he said is, how I think is how I behave. My emotions, how I think, how I behave is how I am. So it's all congruent. So we want you to be authentic and congruent. And the more you have that, the further you'll go. And not only you moving forward with crypto or whatever it is you want to do, but people will come and help you because they see your sincerity and they see that you're there to serve people. So, okay, another example of very good facial features. This is John Rockefeller, who, as you remember, was a business tycoon. So one he has that we haven't talked about is number one. And when I go on morning TV, a lot of the TV producers have a ball on the tip of their nose. And what this means is center of news information. So it means people tell you everything. Now, I don't really have a ball. Mine's more this way, which is money saver. But a ball is particularly good if you work in any kind of people business. So the second, of course, he has the tall white forehead again, which is highlighted for investments, for research development. And then number two, so we've got the tip of the nose. And then number two is he's got very large ears. Now, the person, I can't remember his name, there's a movie, he was a kindergarten, Mr. Rogers, I think it's Mr. Rogers, the man who was or the real Mr. Rogers, huge ears. And even, I think it's Pope John, very large ears. So when someone has very large ears, so we're looking at the size of the ears related to the head shape. So when the ears are very big, it means someone is literally tuning into the big picture. So this is very, very good. So those are the kind of people, if you go, well, I don't know much about crypto or investments, so I want to go to somebody who does. So these are the kind of features you choose to find someone who knows really what they're doing. And what I also do for people is if, let's say, this is what I've been doing recently, is people have wanted to find counselors or therapists or really good people. And so often I compare your face to the person who you're thinking of going to and see if it's a good match. So I like to do that too. Okay, now here are some features for money that are not good. So, and if you have these, it's okay. We're going to look at the whole face. But the first one that is not as fortuitous for money is a very short forehead. And so we're looking at this shape related to the rest of the face. A very short forehead is someone who is very impulsive. So when it comes to money and investments, like my dad, you want to have nerves of steel. You don't want to be impulsive. You want to go, breath, and really have that intuition, which we're going to talk about later. Another example, and some of these I think, I'm trying to remember if I got some of these from the FBI. I got a lot of photos when I was doing work after 9/11. So, executed for trying to assassinate Lenin. Okay, yes, obviously a criminal. Okay, so one of the features that's not good for you investing in money is if you look straight ahead, and as you can see it, if I'm on eye level, you can't see my nostrils. But if you look on eye level and you can see my nostrils, the facial feature means money comes in, money goes out. Well, it means money comes in, but a lot of money goes out. And I was on morning TV. We did I think I did 25 shows on one show, one KGTV. And so one of the news anchors had this. And so Laura Buxton, who was my mentor on TV, went up to him and we were talking and she said, well, how are you doing with your taxes? How are you doing with investments? Because it looked like this. And he went, oh, money's just going out. Money's good. And so we looked at it and went, okay, well, here's what you need to do. You have to focus more on budgeting, for when you have these features that maybe aren't as positive. Another one that she has that's not necessarily good is when someone has a very short chin. Now, the hope is you can see the three parts of her face. This is the hairline to the eyebrows. This is the thinking style. The lower eye to the upper mouth is the emotional area. And then below the lip is the chin, which is willpower. And so when someone has a very short chin, and their eyes are very young soul. And when I talk about young soul, check out YouTube. I have, I don't know, 40, I don't know, 50 YouTube videos, but two of them are on Soul Age. And one of them has 250,000 viewers. And it's the best. It's from KGTV. And I look at Yogananda and St. Teresa of Lisieux in terms of old soul and what that means in terms of the eye texture and how to know that. So this person is a very young soul. We're not going to cover that in this particular class, but a young soul, they just do whatever they feel like doing. So if you hand them their money and they feel like going to Mexico, they just take your money and leave. So it's like, we don't want that for you. We don't want anything like that happening. Okay, so the very short chin means no impulse control. So it means I'm just going to say or do whatever I think. And so that's not necessarily good, especially in finance. And by the way, because I'm not opening to questions, if you have questions, as I'm talking, I'm going to open at the end, text them to my phone. And as I get them, I'll answer one at a time. So my phone number is 760-479-0008. So just text me your questions so I can answer them at the end of the class. So it's 760-479-0008 if you have questions. Okay, now another facial feature that does not forebode well. Most people do not have this, but this is also the facial feature that Henry VIII had, killed 4 wives, not necessarily great for relationships. So this is the very tiny mouth. And so this is the dictator of North Korea, as you know. So the mouth is literally right below the nose, very tiny. So what I tell people when I teach face reading is put your face in the position of what you're looking at with the other person. So as you're thinking that with me, put your face in a really tight, your mouth very tight. So this is I give and receive nothing. So it means I'm very self-absorbed, somewhat narcissistic. So you want to pay attention. Now, a few other things. So this is if you're looking, actually even with romance. So if you're looking to connect to someone, whether it's a financial person, whoever it is, you want to look at the two sides of their face. So the first face I'm going to show you, I went through criminology, and this is from 1690. And this is William Chaloner, who is a counterfeiter. So I'm going to show you his face and the two sides. So what you do, and this is one that you do, you can even do this on a dating site. So you're going to put your hand over, this is the left side of the face, and this is his personal life. And then this is, hold on, if I can do this with one hand, I haven't practiced this. So hold on, this is the right side. So the right side, hold on, the right side is how he relates to people. It's his work side, which is very intense and, not great, but very intense. But the left side is far worse. Hold on, let me get that. Okay, the left side is the arched eyebrow is angry, the mouth comes down, this is disdain, and the left eye goes away from center, which is self-sabotaging. So these are just a few facial features. When you're looking for someone to help you invest, you want to avoid some of these if you see them. And it doesn't mean the person, you might be a fine person, but we want you to be safe. Okay, another example. These are from my book. This is John Dillinger, the reason they set up the FBI. And so the left and the right side, I'm going to show you again, are not necessarily good. Now, what's interesting about his eyes is he's very alluring. You can feel this. So sometimes people who have criminal tendencies are magnetic. It's not good magnetism, but it's like they're pulling you in. Okay, and so we've seen so many stories on the news of people who took their seniors' pensions, and didn't do well. Okay, so this is his right side.
Barbara, can you get a piece of paper and do it? Because it's
Sure.
not easy to
It's
see.
not doing very well. Okay, let me do it this way. Thank you. Okay, so this is his right side. And the right side is who you are to the world. It's who you are when you step outside of your house. So this is someone, obviously he's a criminal, very, very intense. But let's look at the left side. The left side has this, I'm kind of devil, what is that? Devil no care or something, which is I just play and I just do what I want. And there's just this kind of menacing side. I think it shows with Challenger, whatever his name was, even more so. But anyway, just a few features. They're all in my book.
Like a Joker, like somebody just noted in
Yes,
the chat, like a
thank you.
Joker. Yeah, like
Exactly.
he'll do what he wants to please himself.
Or in the tarot, like the magician.
Yeah.
I take from you and then I just spin it out. It's like it just disappears, which is not really good. Okay, a few more examples of features that are challenging. One of them, you can see here, the chin is very short for the whole bone structure. And the lip, it reminds us of Elvis Presley. The lip is very sultry, sensual, because it's huge. And then we're looking at the jaw structure. And when I was on morning TV, some of these are on YouTube, we were looking at O.J. Simpson during the news. And when they're talking and they flex this, I'm going to try to do it. I practiced. So hold on. It's the rage muscle. So if they can tense that, and this person has that activated right in here, huge jaw. So, and the other meaning, keep in mind, there are thousands of these features, but I'm giving some examples. The other example, if we look at his face, this part of his face is huge. And so no one's face is symmetrical, but when that side is huge, what it means, this side is huge, it means that the person has major, major self-esteem issues that they're trying to work out. And so very hard on themselves. And so he has also eyebrows that go up, which is anger issues, and then very unusual ears. And the ears, of all the features in criminology, the ears will show you the person's not wonderful. And then one last photo this is Myra Hingley, serial killer. And we're looking at, when you look straight at someone, now I'm going to do this. When you look up, you're looking up, you can see underneath in medicine, we call this a sclera. But when you're looking straight at someone and you can see the white under their eyes, this is very dangerous. Okay.
Barbara, a question.
Sure.
You brought up a lot of interesting things with that young man. Can you pull him up again?
Sure.
One question is, you mentioned a large jaw. How do you tell the difference between a large jaw that it's a good natural leader and someone, like Superman, large jaw, and an anger rage jaw?
Perfect. Okay, the first part is that if it's a leader face like FDR, the leader face, it's a balanced jaw. It's on both sides. And the other part that we always look at in face reading, and this is when I do individual sessions, is I look at your face in total. In other words, when I do a session, I look at what are your gifts. So whether it's cryptocurrency, health, whatever, you maximize your gifts. You want to pull on those. And then everyone has things they're working out, including me. We all have areas that are not as strong. And so you want to minimize those. And you want to know what those are. Before you invest, before you do anything, you want to know, who am I? Why do people respond to me like they do? So that's what face reading will tell you. So the other part is to answer your question, if the rest of the facial features are very positive, then the strong jaw makes someone like a leader. For example, in a face shape, one of the face shapes Winston Churchill had is a box. It's called a square face. And it means the jaw's huge and the face, though, is a square. And that particular facial feature is a general. And so it means I can get you through anything. I can get you through the Civil War, like Lincoln. When Lincoln changed his face shape by growing a beard or mustache or beard, the 6-year-old little girl wrote to him and said, Mr. Lincoln, I think you should grow a beard. And so Lincoln's face originally was long, like mine, which is an educator and a scholar 500 classes, whatever, scholar kind of person. But he changed his face shape and it made it stronger in the jaw. And this is when when he won the presidency, having lost a lot of other Senate and elections. So you can change things about your face also. And that's what we talk about when I do work with people.
Hear that,
Okay.
ladies? You got to grow a beard if you want to be successful. That's what Barbara is saying.
Yeah, well, it depends on the rest of your face. For example, when I was in England, I was doing face reading and this one man sat down and he had the unibrow, which is one of the worst facial features you can have. And so I said to him, you want to take out the middle part here. And he was like, oh, I didn't know that. And so things, you can change things in your face.
Explain why that's not a desirable feature.
Well, keep in mind, that'll take an hour. So I'm going to hold that question till another time. Why features are positive and negative. I want to go on.
Too much intensity, right? Too much.
Well, among other things. Yeah. So I want to go on because I have so much to cover. Okay. The first thing I want to talk about now is when people are investing in cryptocurrency, what is the level of your impulsiveness and what is the level of your calmness in your nervous system? Because that's something you can change. And when I talk to CEOs, I give them specific ways to calm their nervous system. So when they make investments or they do things, they're more accurate. Okay, so I want to talk about a few of those. You want to decrease the impulsiveness, and what that means directly, from nutrition, et cetera, it really means increasing B vitamins, increasing calcium, eating every 2 to 3 hours, and drinking enough water. And oftentimes people who are CEOs tell me, it's like sort of a theme, is they wake up at 3 a.m. And so that's the liver being activated. So you want to decrease that sense of agitation, of anger, of stress. And the other aspect that's huge, and I go into depth when I talk to someone individually, but these are just some guidelines, is you want to get really deep REM sleep. So REM is the level of sleep that rejuvenates the body. And sometimes people take calcium magnesium at night. Basically, the goal here is meditation. Meditation will even out the nervous system. The other aspect of meditation is that it connects you to more guidance or a higher power. And I'm going to cover right now direct guidance and what that means. So intuition is direct correspondence to reality. So in other words, if you're intuitive, it's not psychic. It means that you're perceiving things as they are universally. You're like tuned in. The part that is huge, in America, we think about success as being financial predominantly. And, all of us grew up like that. That's sort of normal. There was a story, though, that really helped me. When I worked in public health, I saw a few thousand people in hospice and public health. And I remember I told my older sister, who's a minister, metaphysical minister, and I said to her, my house fits in the bathroom of many of these people's homes. I mean, huge palatial estates of these people I was going to do wound care with and help them medically, huge houses. And I said to my sister's name's Anandi, I said, Anandi, what did I do wrong? I live this really simple life and all these people are so wealthy. And, I was just feeling really discouraged. And what she reminded me that I like to remember is she said, Barb, St. Francis was healing the sick and raising the dead. So success really, only part of it is financial. So what we want in success is including the idea of loving friends, loving relationships, inner peace, a happy job. Those are all being able to create what you need at will. The other part, as I mentioned earlier, is the more balanced your life is, the quicker you can move forward. And this, like I said, when I looked at the 26, 25 managers of Jenny Craig and telling them, okay, this is where your life's out of balance. Connect this part. And I've seen over time when people become more balanced, they really move ahead and have more prosperity. It seems to fit together. Now, the last part that I think is very important that I want to talk about, and we're going to do this together, we only have a few minutes, is it's important, even no matter what your investments, cryptocurrency, whatever it is to feel and connect that you have a right to prosperity. And sometimes, now I was trying to develop how I was going to say this, and I might not get it out right. As an example, when I started to do face reading in '83, I was one of the very few people who did it. And so I was like, 35 years or whatever it was. So the point being, I'm always at the cutting edge of something, and trying to take advantage, not so much advantage, but understand it, create it for other people, open it up for other people. So with cryptocurrency, the people I know who invest, who are friends of mine, told me there's a little bit of this vibration. And so go inside. If this makes any sense to you, we're going to do a shift here. So if there's any sense of the common people, or most people don't even know what cryptocurrency is. So I want to really cash in and do really well before people figure it out because I'm in it and I know it. So when there's that kind of agitation or that, I call it kind of a, what do you call that in medicine? Like a nervous system, a little bit of a buzz, I need to do it now. And I need to, when you have that, sometimes it's not as successful. Like what I saw in my dad was nerves of steel. And he did really well. Right before there was a crash in 50 something or other, he took out all his money out of the stock market and then it crashed. So it was like he could feel these waves coming. And that's what I want you to be able to do. So the first thing we're going to do is basically change how you view money coming to you. And so in these are some affirmations from Yogananda. And I want to just close your eyes and I'm going to say them. And I want you to just take them in. So it's shifting. In other words, I'm outside, kind of my renegade part that I have that's fun, into I am a child of God. What he has, I have. In other words, it's wide open that I receive this. So I'm going to read you two of these affirmations that I chose for you that I think might be useful. So go ahead and shut your eyes and listen. The first one is, God is my own inexhaustible divine bank. I am always rich, for I have access to the cosmic storehouse. I will go forth in perfect faith in the power of omnipresent good to bring me what I need at the time I need it. So kind of feel that. The second one, the sunshine of divine prosperity has just burst through the dark sky of my limitations. I am God's child. What he has, I have. And now the last that we're going to do is an ancient yoga technique that I learned many years ago. And when I do intuitive work, I use this all the time. The focal point is the spiritual eye. And if you meditate, this is the Christ center. And in ancient yoga, they talk about this is the sending mechanism. So when you want to find out something, you put it here. When you want to feel what to do is you receive it in the heart. So sending, receiving. So let's say, and we're not going to have too much time to practice all of this, but let's say, I'm going to give you the technique so you can use it on your own. So let's say you have to make a decision. Do I want to move to Dallas or New York? Okay, and you just can't logically, you can't figure it out. And I think it was Einstein who said, we can't solve a problem on the same conscious level that it's created. So the idea is you have to go deeper to get the guidance. Okay, so here's the technique. So you're going to focus, you're going to pray for a while, ask God for guidance. And a technique or affirmation that Yogananda offered is, I will reason, I will act. But guide thou my reason, will, and activity to the right thing I should do in everything. So that includes investing. Okay, so even if it's an opportunity for crypto investing, so you're going to put option one, should I do it? And here's what it looks like. And so you're going to feel that, put that at the Christ Center, and visualize it. However you do that, sound, visual, just visualize that option. So for about 30 seconds to a minute, then you're going to go into your heart. Now, in your heart, if you feel calm, peaceful, a sense of joy, that's a yes. If in your heart you feel confusion, agitation, fear, just not, something's off, that's a no. Okay, then you bring up the second option. Should I do this one? And you do the same thing where you visualize it, you create it in your mind, you ask God for guidance, and then you feel the response. And so, especially when it's a big change, you want to do this over and over and over a few days. So it's very important. Now I'm going to end open to some questions, but I'm going to end just by reviewing. This is my book. It's on my website, facereading1.com, also featured on eBay. And it's Face Reading, How to Know Anyone at a Glance. And if you're interested, this is the special for Simon. So you need to email me. It's $150 special discount. And my email again is facereading1@AOL.com if you're interested in taking advantage of that. So we don't have much time, but I'm going to open for questions. So let me go to my phone and see the questions that have come in. So send me questions if you have them. My phone number again, 760-479-0008. And Simon, can we go over time or is it stopping right at 11?
No, we can absolutely go over as much as is necessary. There was a question in the chat about plastic surgery.
Yes. Okay. I covered that in detail in my book. And as far as I know, I'm the only one who looks at these three areas. So who does face reading? Okay. Number one is what you're born with. For example, I have longer earlobes and I have a very narrow face. That's what I'm born with. That's not going to change. Even if I gain weight, my face is still narrow. So what I'm born with, you read those facial features. Number two is how I like to look. And what this would mean, when I used to teach a class for Macy's, I call it the whole bottom floor of Clinique. So this is makeup, how you change your hair, how you weave it, different colors, makeup. So this is how I like to look. So that will express my spirit. And number three is plastic surgery. That's the third part. And that includes orthodontia, melanoma, skin cancer, any changes that have happened, car accidents, scarring, anything that happens to the face. We read as part of the face, as a facial feature reading. However, over 10,000 people and looking at a lot of faces, I can tell the difference. And so the ones that you're born with are the most significant and how you like to look, but we incorporate everything. So plastic surgery is included in what you look like. And the story with that is interesting. I once asked someone who is also a face reader, I said, who has the most perfect face? And I thought he was going to say Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, who knows, Jane Goodall or something. And he said, Carol Burnett. And I went, Carol Burnett? And he said, what happened was she used to have a slip chin, and a slip chin back, it's somebody who is spineless, who has no willpower. And by surgery, this is the maximal and maximal, anyway, the two parts of the jaw. So she had this brought forward in surgery. And when I teach this to plastic surgeons, the idea is when you do the inner work to prepare for any facial change, then the muscles hold it really well. And it looks like it's natural because you've emotionally prepared and then you do the facial change. Okay, next question.
That's amazing, Barbara. And I'll just add my 2 cents. One thing I've noticed is women who pluck their eyebrows a lot, and it's based on what I learned from you. It's kind of you're removing your strength, your vitality in a way when you overdo it, right? Can you just say
Yeah.
something about that?
Absolutely. So there are features that have to do with super sensitivity. One of them is very, very tiny eyebrows, which is kind of hyper. And then another example is very, very fine pore structure with very pale eyes. And in my book, years ago, I looked at someone, I do so many classes, and someone was in there and she had all three features. And I remember I said to her, so here the features are very kind of super sensitive with very pale eyes, which is I can't handle a lot of conflict, and very fine pore structure, which is um, love of beautiful objects and just very etheric. And so in my mind, I'm putting these features together, which I do in an individual session where I'm trying to guide you as to how to invest and what to do and stuff. Anyway, so I put these together and I said in my mind, I thought, oh, well, she would really love animals that are very sensitive and intelligent, like horses. And so I said to her, do you love horses? Well, the whole room cracked up because they knew her. And they said, she owns a stable. And she said to me just what I saw. She said, I have a really difficult time getting along with people, but I love horses. She says, I can communicate with horses. I'm like, well, of course you can. So, so anyway, okay, another question. Now, I don't have on my ability to answer questions from the class. So Simon,
Yeah.
here's some, I'm getting them on my phone.
Okay.
So I'll just send them to my phone and I'll read them. So the phone again is 760-479-0008. And by the way, if you have class questions after the class or something, just email me, facereading1@AOL, and I'm happy to answer. Okay, question. Pinned ears will manage more cautiously and pay attention to details. Now keep in mind, because I've looked at thousands of features, thousands of people, the concept pinned means one thing to someone and something different. So I'm going to explain how I perceived what that means. Pinned isn't exactly like flat, but specifically, and I think it was Rumford who was one of the White House, somebody or others. Anyway, he had ears that were close to the head. And what I learned about that is it means someone who likes following authority. In other words, they're not going to break away and do something different. They're just going to go right under the chain of command. And you expect that from them. So what face reading will tell you, whatever your area, where you do healing, whether you do counseling or business, it'll tell you what you can expect of the person you're working with. What kind of person are they? How can you use your skill? What you know this much, how can you use your skill and pinpoint it to who they are and what they need? Instead of talking to someone who's very emotional about theory, you talk to them about their feelings about your topic. So you look at the person and figure out who they are. And what's true about face reading is we're used to looking at people, but we don't really see them. And face reading, you'll actually see them. And it'll, like one story I have, an intern, I teach this as an internship, and one of my interns now teaches this in Costa Rica, my friend Manfred. And I remember when he wrote me initially, he's a CEO, and he said, well, what can face reading do for me? This was like 10 years ago. And I just said to him, it'll blow open your heart. And because what you do with face reading is you're looking at someone with your heart and you're looking with compassion, you're looking. And I've looked at people of all different backgrounds, and I've looked at drug dealers, gangsters, people who are famous, people on and on and on, a whole range of people. And you get to hear you're honored, like Simon and Nadia, when they do sessions, you're honored to hear who they are. And then your goal is, how can I help you? That's the goal. So let me go for the next question. So that's the pinned ears part. Let's see, the next question is, could you please reflect on your knowledge of the intuitive line with the third eye and the pineal gland? Okay, so because my training is clinical medicine at UCSD and I have a license, I'm not allowed to do face reading medically, even though in my book I have a page and a half of things I've seen that are accurate with face reading and medical features or whatever, or features. Okay, so I'm going to skip the pineal gland, which is inside the nose. Okay, now keep in mind, intuitive line is this one that I talked about where this comes forward. And so I probably won't be able to answer that because it relates more intuitively medically. So I'm going to pass on this question. However, there's one line that is featured in my book. And this is, I'm trying to think of someone who has it right off, but it comes straight up from the forehead. And when you see this line, what that means is pioneer. Someone goes in a completely different direction than the rest of their family of origin. And so this is someone, often they're CEOs, they just cut it path. And so we relate to them from a go get it point of view, that they're very self-determined. Okay, so let me go to the next question on my phone. So are there more questions? Hold on.
Barbara, let me ask you, you mentioned the pinned ears. Would the ears sticking out be the opposite quality, or that's something different? Like
No.
Obama had the ears sticking out, and that's an ear for music. And
No. What's fascinating, and Simon is alluding to this, and this is, as I said, this is the cover of my book. It's all in there. What's fascinating about face reading, we go, okay, well, is if it's this way, if it's this way, is this positive, and if it's this way, is it's negative? No, unfortunately, they're not opposite tendencies. The one like President Obama has high placed ears, and they come forward, as do, trying to think of Perot. I mean, that was so long ago in politics, but the ears come forward. What that indicates is music ability and also entrepreneurial skill. And so when you're looking for an entrepreneur, there are all these different features that make them special, that relate to creative gifts and ability to tune in to new age things and lucky things. So basically, keep in mind there are thousands of these features. So when I look at you individually in a session, I look at what are your gifts? What's going to get you to where you want to go? You want to maximize those. And some people, if they don't do a lot of introspection, they're like, well, my dad told me I was this, and so I must be this. And I'm like, no, you're not like that at all. So it's like it breaks up their possibly negative concepts and creates a new way for them to go. And my particular system, when I first became interested in 83, I read all the books that were out, and there are 4 major world systems on face reading. The Chinese is probably, this is my point of view, the most negative. And mine relates to doing 50 years of meditation and my own counseling and inner work, where we give people hope, and it's accurate, but it's also healing. So, okay, another question? Any more questions?
Yes. So
I have you on my phone. Okay, go ahead.
Well, keeping with the topic of the ears, what about pointy ears like an elf?
That one's a really good. Oh wait. Okay, I've got another one. The pointy ears, like I think of Spock. I've looked at those for years, and I'm going to be very honest. I don't know, and the reason is I've only seen 3 people who actually have them. One was not Spock, of course, that is animation, but or makeup, I should say. When I identify a facial feature, I've looked at least 25 people who have it, and I've said to them, "You have this feature. Is this true for you?" The psychological component. So that's my medical research picking background. So everything of all the features I say, it looks like this, it means this, it means I've tested it over and over and over again, sometimes hundreds of times. So, and in different systems of face reading, because periodically I read other people's systems, I don't know how they develop what they got. But in mine, from what I hear internationally, is about 95% accurate. And I think it comes from my medical NIH background of very specific, logging it in. Is this true? Is this not true? Is this true? So it's developed from that level and the intuitive level, and what I grew up as in St. Louis was to honor people of all ethnic backgrounds. And I think the only author who does that. And because that's important to me. So, okay, another question is, can you tell me what a small mouth compared to the whole face represents? Absolutely. So I'm going to get Henry VIII's photo, which I didn't get a chance to show you. Did I? I don't think so. I talked about him, but I didn't show you his photo. So I'm going to pull up good old Henry VIII. It's not his photo, it's the painting, obviously, because it's from a different century. So let me go get that. And Henry VIII, as an example, had multiple facial features, none of which are positive. Oh no, oh, I don't have Henry VIII. Okay, so I'm gonna flipping photos behind me. Okay, so the small mouth literally is right below the nose. Now, ironically enough, people in readings ask me all the time, is mine small? And it's like, no. And, there's average, and then there's wide, like Julia Roberts, which means generous and affectionate. But a small mouth is tight. It means tight. Whereas in criminology, if you look at, I think it was Dahmer, the serial killer or something, there's a tight mouth and a small mouth is different. So small mouth is the lips are very tiny. Okay, let me go to and so you're always comparing it to the whole face. And so the little gift I have is that I've looked at such a high volume of people that I can tell, is your forehead square or round? Whereas people who are beginning go, I don't know, what is it? So that's a benefit. Okay, so far I'm looking at, let's see, I think I've got most of the questions. So Simon, are there other questions, things you want to know about?
There are a couple questions
Right.
here in, let's see, if we book a reading session, can you define windows of time when XYZ may happen? So in these years, you are most primed to earn the most money, or is your reading a general personality reading?
Very good question. Trying to think how to answer this. I don't do it by year in terms of, okay, in 6 months, blah, blah, blah. What I've learned in all the readings I do is, for some reason, the goal is to ask spirit and to look at you. They're super accurate from what I've been told. And so I don't have all the answers, but somehow when I say things, they come true, is what I've heard. Like this woman came up to me in Vaughn's the other day and she said, I just want you to know, 5 years ago, you did a 5-minute face reading for me and everything came true. And I looked at her, I have no idea who you are. I was like, I wish I did. But I went, I hope it was good. I hope it was good. She went, oh yeah, it was great. So I don't know the answer. My goal is to tune into spirit and to ask. And so I give you what I get. And I give you everything I get. It's not like I weed it out or anything. But in terms of timeline, what I've learned, it's also like my twin brother example in astrology. It's how you live your life also will relate to how these things are going to manifest. For example, I did this session out of Costa Rica about a year and a half ago to a CEO. A lot of these people I know are business owners now. And he had just sold a large corporation. And he said to me, I want to invest immediately in redoing my house because now I have the money, I have the time, I'm not working and I have all this money. And so I looked at his chart, kind of prayed about it, kind of went inside, used my intuition. And I said to him, great idea. I think it was June, but I said, you need to wait till March to start. And he went, but I don't want to wait till March. I went, just what I get, you do whatever you want, but I would wait till March. I think things are going to go clearer and be easier for you after March. And so he called me in May, and here's what he said. First of all, he said, I waited till March, and I'm so grateful I did because my son had to go to the ICU and was in the hospital for a month. And had we started to do the home projects, it wouldn't have worked at all. Second, right at the end of February, I was driving by a lumber yard near where I live, and all the wood that I needed, I got $10,000 off buying it. So you saved me $10,000. And then number 3 is at the end of February, right before I told him to start in March, my father-in-law came to live with us. He's a general contractor and decided to take over the whole building. So all in all, he said, you saved me about $30,000. So I'm like, great. So in terms of, can I do predictions on and on? Not necessarily. However, another example, because I look at women in romance, men in romance all the time. And I've matched of 8 marriages out of 8. So it's like, so, and then like a woman called me last night, um, who Japanese woman from my area, and she had just gone on a date with this guy and she really liked him. And so there are 4 soulmate indicators in the chart for romance. I think I told this to Simon from Western. And if you've got those, it's a go. Like I was happily married, had one of them. My sister is probably the best marriage I've ever seen. She has 2 of those soulmate indicators. And so I'm looking at, so in romance, she sent me the man's face, a man, woman, the person's face and your face. And if it's a 70-30 match, it's a go, meaning it's going to be a natural connection. And so this woman last night, I went, this isn't your person. And so there was a difference in soul age. And this woman was much deeper. And the man she wanted to go out with was huge, wonderfully handsome, but just not, after a while, they wouldn't have much in common. So I said, see what happens. That's just what I see. It might not work long term. So, okay, another question.
I can vouch for the fact that Barbara's
Oh.
predictions are it's not like she's predicting straight from the face and giving you dates, but it's what comes. So it's kind of like when you go see an astrologer in India, you don't always get a prediction. It's whatever you're ready to hear, and that's been my experience.
And I think what my goal is to tune into spirit. After meditating for 50 years, the goal is, what would God want? Not what do I think? What does my ego tell me about you? But it's like, what is true for you? What will work for you? And sometimes it's not pleasant. And sometimes people have to go through hard things. I mean, I've worked in medicine for also over 30 years. So I've seen horrible trauma. And the point is, we want to move people towards happiness. We want to do prevention. We want to work on character parts of our personality that don't work, where we can move forward and be happier. Like I said, be congruent and be transparent. And so that will bring more success. Okay, another question. How are we doing? Are people still on?
Oh yeah, we're all here. In fact, more people are
Okay.
coming.
All right.
There's a question
More
about
questions?
the
Oh, wait,
emperor
I
line.
got it. Hold on. Go ahead.
The horizontal emperor line, do you look for this when the face is resting or when eyebrows are up?
Doesn't matter. If you have it, you don't miss it. It goes like that.
Yeah. Doesn't the Dalai Lama have that?
No. If you go on Google Images and you can pull up his face, I don't know if you can do that to the side. His face, actually, the lines go like this. So he has strong lines, different. But they are not straight across, but incredible face. Beautiful face. And then when I teach, are you going to look it up on Images? So when I teach the class on soul age, oh, here you are. Great. This is the picture, the second row. Perfect. You can see his, oh no, that doesn't show it as well. Maybe try a different one, Simon, please.
Let me find another one.
Because his lines go like this in the forehead.
This one here?
Yeah, try that one. I think that's the good one. Yeah. Perfect. So that is the emperor line, but it's a little different shape, but it's still very powerful. Very, very powerful. And beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
And when we have more lines, then that's something else. So the emperor line is just the one line, right?
One line. Yeah. So what more lines mean, keep in mind, face reading, I could do for weeks, because there's so many features and applications. So I'll just do a few more. When you have straight lines going across, it means logical thinker. The person moves forward like this. When the lines go are broken, it means a little more chaotic thinking, or having a hard time with concentration. For example, when I do an individual chart and an individual face, let's say someone has those broken lines. So I'll talk to them about doing one thing at a time, or creating, instead of multitasking. Okay, do one thing at a time, get your nervous system balanced so that kind of chaotic part doesn't overwhelm them. For example, I talked to a man last week in Iceland who I know personally, and he's just given up. He's a CEO, and he said, I'm sort of burned out, and I want, literally, he said, I want to give up my business and go into cryptocurrency. And so I said to him, okay, well, let's look for that. And so I pulled up his chart. I was showing you the astrology chart, pulled up his chart and looked at his face. And I said, of course, you want to study this and do what you love. And if this is what you love, you go for it. I said, this is what you need to pay attention to, though. In his consciousness and his face and his chart, there's this feeling of I always need to be productive. And so once somebody's given up I work, whatever that is, 9 to 5 or whatever they do, that focus on their CEO kind of job into investments, my concern is he always needs to be productive. So what he needed to avoid, because he also had 4 planets in fire, which is volatile, impulsive, is to think that I'm being productive if I'm always trading and buying, in the market or in some other form of finance. You don't want to be doing that. As I said, you want to hold, sometimes study everything, but be able to just hold the investments or whatever you're doing without thinking, oh, I'm doing productive by buying and selling, because that's not always good. So another question? How about 2 more and then we'll end at 11:30?
Sure. I'm looking at Vitalik Buterin's face. This is the founder of Ethereum,
Oh, okay.
this young
All
kid.
righty. So keep in mind, I've never seen his face. You think I would, but I haven't. So I'll just analyze it. So I know nothing about him. So you can tell me if this is accurate. To start with, the ears come way forward. And again, this is entrepreneurial, just decides what they're going to do, completely goes to their own drummer. You asked the question before about the huge jaw, which he has. And so his is more on both sides. So and the face shape is a square, which is a general face. And this is like, people just go, I'm trusting you, dynamic. Now, what's his name again? I'm sorry.
His name is Vitalik Buterin.
Oh, yes, I have heard of him. Okay. So then, keep in mind, we're doing like a little mini face reading here. So what we've got also are deep set eyes, and you can see that more on his left eye, inset eyes. So this is deeper thinker. So it's not just what he sees, but he processes and he goes deeper. Now he also has, let's see, trying to get all the features that would be useful here. When the ears are low set, so we're at eye level in the photo. So here we are, eye level, the ears are low set. What that means is late bloomer. So it means the person comes into their own and is successful, usually after 32 to 35. Like example, Ronald Reagan, very low set ears, president at 48, Pope John Pope at 60. So very low set ears means in their 20s and 30s, they're developing skills, they're trying different things, putting things together, and then they do really well in the mid 30s. And I don't know how old this person is. He looks perhaps at that point. I don't know. But
He's
very much
pretty young.
phase.
Now he's also on the spectrum.
Of
And
autism spectrum?
yes,
Uh-huh.
from what I understand.
Mhm.
And so he's very shy and, and
Yeah. And
okay.
that shows in the eyebrows. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you, Simon.
Mhm.
But when the eyebrows are very flat, what that means is super introvert. And his eyebrows are actually very fine and flat. So super sensitive nervous system.
Yeah, without a
Okay.
doubt. Barbara, if we bring you back, I'm wondering if you'd be willing to, and you can do your homework on them as well, to read the faces of some of the CEOs of the big cryptos, like Charles Hoskinson for Cardano,
Okay.
Alex Mashinsky, things like that. They'll be fascinating.
Let me think about it. Maybe in a few weeks.
Okay.
If you send me their list, I'll research it and see what we look for. And I've looked in my book, I talk about financiers, and often the combination they have usually is a very tall, wide forehead, thinking, and then huge jaw. So
Yeah. Crypto's a little different, but crypto's a little bit of a different kind of space. But this guy's one of the head of one of the top 5 cryptos called Cardano.
Let me do it in another class because I'm
Okay.
going to wind down a little bit now. But let
Sure.
me think about it and look at the faces and see if they're patterns. Because I think it's more useful if people can see, okay, well, versus just everyone's different. My guess would be they're all going to have really tall, wide foreheads. And oftentimes, what's interesting, and like I was using the example even of myself earlier, how, in '83, I developed face reading, which had pretty much not been done. And so someone who takes something out of nothing and goes, "Boo." And so in men, oftentimes they have sideburns. And so here we're looking at, obviously he has beards and a beard, mustache, and sideburns. But sideburns is also indicative of I'm going to just do it my way in a man. That's what it means. So, but we can look at more, and I'm happy to work with you on that. So just in closing, people, if you have questions, you can email me. So again, let me see if I've got that. Face reading the book 1 at AOL to get the session. I think it was this. This is the price for Simon's group. You can give this to a friend, relative, or you can do it on any other topic, in career, romance. I cover everything in one session.
Romance is one of the finest, I think, applications for face reading because people can't hide who they are. You see their faces
Nope.
next to each other, and that's like the ultimate compatibility matching.
Can I share one fun story?
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know if it's so much fun, but it's kind of an interesting one. This woman called me from Poland. This was about 2 months ago. And she said, I'm just falling in love with this guy. And here's his face. Tell me what you think. And so I looked at his face, and my first thought was, he looks like he used to be in the mafia. And she said, actually, he used to be in the mafia. I'm like, oh no, no. And then I said, and the other part, there are 10 parts of the eyes. I said, the other part is, was he a drug dealer? And she went, well, actually, he was a drug dealer. And I'm like, woo, So I said to her, okay, let's look at your face. And so in her face was this, I need to rescue this man, and love will make him change and different. And remember, I said to her, just cut and run. This is never going to work for you. I don't know, luckily, anything about the mafia, but I don't think there's a used to with some of these things. So you need to really work on your self-esteem and think about drawing a higher quality person for you to be safe. So, and like I said, on the other hand, I had a wonderful marriage. Most of the people I know are happily married. So, that's easy, the part about compatibility and love and relationships. So I look for that with you and your partner, if that's your topic. Okay, anything else, Simon? So call me or, write. eBay is where my book is again. One last thought, face reading, how to know anyone at a glance. It's a special on eBay for $49, includes some other stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes, so I sent out a video, an email telling people about you yesterday, and I brought up the topic of the square chin. And I brought up an example, John Cena. He's got like the most square chin that I can think of. And can you just end with that as a feature for a financial
Oh, the
kind of
square chin?
responsibility?
Absolutely. So the square chin, George Washington, perfect square chin. Okay, square chin here. So it's the chin is here, the jaw is here, but square. So the other part, when it's actually just the chin, is the story is my uncle had a square chin, and this is hugely financially successful. My uncle was the one who invented the paint cards. All those things you see in all the paint stores, my uncle invented those. So it's like, talk about billionaire. So anything with the square chin is fortuitous. However, we're always looking at your face and what makes you special and what can move you forward. Because if I don't have a square chin, so it's not going to happen for me in that way. But so anyway, okay, thank you, Simon, and thanks
Got
so
it. Thank you so much,
much.
Barbara. Appreciate it.
Let me know how I
Please,
can be of service.
yes, please email her to set up a private reading. or you can go to her site and check out what the options are, but you'll get a discount. Just email her directly.
Yeah.
facereading1@aol.com. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And happy eclipse. Do your meditation tonight. Do this. I think the most valuable thing was this, the technique you gave us, the third eye going out and sense it in your heart. Try this for yourself tonight
works.
as the eclipse is happening. Try to set your intention, and this truly is the beginning of a great new year. I think 2022 is going to be huge for cryptos, and we can get set and be ready before it starts. So thank you, everyone. I love you guys. And thank you, Barbara.
You're
And
welcome.
hopefully we'll see you again.
Sounds good.
Namaste, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.